In this video, we're going to learn how to create transitions, and in order to do this, we're going to start in the Transitions tab. And of course, when we're creating these transitions, we're moving from either a black screen to the first slide, or we're going from one slide to the next. And so it's just a way to captivate our audience as we move from one screen to the next, essentially. So we're going to start in the Transitions tab, and we're going to choose the Shape option. By default, by applying this to slide 1, it means that we're going to be transitioning into slide 1. So we're transitioning from a black screen to slide 1 by doing this. Let's now add, let's go to another transition now. Let's go to Effect Options, and we can actually edit this transition that we've done called Shape to have a plus sign. So it's still going to be sort of the same idea where, again, the slide just materializes from the center outwards, but it's going to have a different shape associated with it, kind of like variants associated with themes. And so continuing on in the Transitions tab, we're going to go to the Timing group now, and let's go ahead and change the duration of this transition to 4 seconds. And of course, the longer the duration, the longer it's going to take to execute. Anytime you want to see your transition prior to actually starting the presentation, you can go ahead and click on the slide that you're interested in, which is of course slide 1 in this case, and then just click on the preview option. So you can see that now that I've changed the duration to 4 seconds, the transition takes much longer. Let's go now to slide 2. And again, by default, when I am selecting slide 2, I'm creating a transition that is between slides 1 and 2. Okay, so the transition is always before the slide that you're selecting. So selecting slide 2, let's give it a transition called Vortex. Okay, so we'll just make sure that we click on the More button, and let's go ahead and find Vortex. Here it is. And for the effect options, we're going to choose the direction of this one, and we're going to say from top. We're going to set the duration to 2 seconds. So it's a little faster than what it was originally. Let's now move to slide 3 and set a transition there. Let's use the fracture transition. You'll notice there's only one type of transition because it's very simple. We're always just moving from one slide to another. With animations, there's a lot more to it because you can have an animation enter the slide, you can have it be emphasized once it's there, and you can also have it exit. But with transitions, it's extremely simple. So let's now move on to the adding the fracture. Okay, so we'll just add the fracture transition to this slide, and where it says advance slide, let's advance after 5 seconds. Okay, so check off the after button, and so we can decide to just manually move from one slide to the next by clicking the way that we normally would. But if we don't do that, this second option just means that it will automatically move forward after 5 seconds of being on the slide. Great, let's go now to slide 4 and apply the page curl transition. Okay, so again, I'll just click on the More button here. And we're just looking for page curl. Okay, so just as if we're going from one page to the next in a book. And then let's add the blinds transition to slide 5, the last one. Okay, so just a few examples of what transitions look like. Let's now go to the slide sorter view, and let's assume that we want to only move from one slide to the next after 2 seconds. Okay, we don't want to actually have to click to get from one slide to the next. First of all, I can do that in this view, but slide sorter is a little easier because it's easier to choose multiple slides in that view. So that's why I'll go to slide sorter. Let's go to the View tab. Let's click on slide sorter, and we'll select all the slides. How do we do that? We click on the first one, hold down Shift, click on the last one. All of them are selected now. Great. So let's go back to the Transitions tab, of course. And again, we're going to deselect on mouse click, and then we're going to check off after. Okay, and we're going to say after, and then we're going to just have it be set to 2 seconds. Okay, and you should see the 2-second indicator below each of the slides as well. Okay, and that's another reason why slide sorter view is convenient, because it shows it in the slide sorter view and not the other views. Let's now show the presentation. So let's hit F5 to start the presentation from the beginning. And you'll see that once the transition is done, there's going to be 2 seconds before we go to the next slide, wait 2 seconds, then we go to the next slide, wait 2 seconds of being on the slide, and then we just keep advancing from there. So you'll notice that the 2 seconds is only counted after the transition ends, right? So it's 2 seconds of seeing the slide without there being any transition occurring. Okay, that's what we mean by that. Okay, great. So I just hit escape to return back to my slide sorter view. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to simulate the transition of a 3D slide. So let's go ahead and close this presentation, and we're going to now open the Morphing Eagle presentation. And again, I'm just going to copy paste it to my desktop so that I have 2 copies of it in case I make a mistake in the second copy. It's always a good idea to do that. And so in this Morphing Eagle presentation, let's go to slide 1 and let's click on the slide itself and then use Control D to duplicate it. And then on slide 2, we'll mess around with this 3D model here. So let's go ahead and click on the 3D model of the eagle. And let's go to the 3D model tab, the contextual tab that appears. And let's go with the default view, okay, which is the very first one, which is the eagle facing the audience. Click on that. And in the size group, let's set the size and position. Let's set the height to 3.84 inches, which is also 9.8 centimeters. And let's set the width to 1.68 inches or 4.3 centimeters. Okay. Actually, let me just go ahead and turn off the oh, sorry, my mistake. Let's hit Control Z a couple of times. My mistake. We're not changing the dimensions of the object itself. We're changing its position on the slide itself. So what we're going to do is click on the dialog box launcher on the bottom right-hand corner of size. Okay, and instead of size, we're going to care about position. So let's open that. And this is where we want to enter those measurements. So 3.84 inches, and then vertical position is 1.68 inches. Okay, and just leave it as top left corner for both of these options. Okay, let's go now to size, and let's change the height to 3.7, also known as 9.4 centimeters. Okay, and because the aspect ratio is locked, that's just going to automatically change the width so that the ratio between the height and the width of this object remains the same. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go to the Transitions tab. And in the transition to this slide group, let's go ahead and choose the, if we click on the More button, let's choose the Morph option. Let's see if we can find it here. Okay, so we'll just choose Morph, and then you'll be able to see the bird fly in. Okay, so that's a special transition that is applied to this particular eagle. And so now let's change the timing. Okay, so we'll just change the timing, or the duration, to 2.25 seconds. And then we can go ahead and click on preview to see what the transition looks like. Okay, so this transition it's almost like an animation, to be honest with you, because it's being applied to this 3D object, but it is still considered to be a transition. And again, it's unique to this 3D model that we're using.